You're listening to the Future of Convenience podcast, brought to you by Global Convenience Store Focus, featuring senior retail executives and experts in the global convenience, fuels, and mobility retail industry. Welcome to the Future of Convenience. I'm happy to be alongside my co-host, Frank Gleeson. Hey, Frank, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Carolyn. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's great to see you again. You and I had the pleasure of attending Invenco by GVR's Retail Technology Conference, or as they call it, the RTC, back in April and hang out a little in person. And today we're going to talk with the MC from that Chicago event, Alan English, who is the Vice President and Head of Global Marketing for Invenco by GVR. Hey, Alan.
Good morning, Carolyn. Good morning, Frank. Great to see you guys again. Thank you for joining us in Chicago this year. It was great to have you there for our 20th RTC conference.
20. Wow. I didn't realize we were at a forefront of a double-decade event here.
Absolutely. Yeah. What started out as a small user group of 10 to 15 of our passport customers really has grown into a global event that now we'll talk about coming up. Is a global program that we're running on multi-continents.
That's really cool. Well, I'm glad to have been there. And Frank, you led a really compelling panel with a couple of U.S. retailers, and you were talking about food and the convenience industry and the future of food. So why don't you kick us off and tell us a little bit about what you were doing there and about that panel?
Yeah, thanks, Carolyn. Thanks, Alan. Listen, really enjoyed the RTC in Chicago. It actually was my first one, which was a real eye-opener how big it's become and how well attended it was. So I think from the morning sessions that I was able to sit in the audience and kind of listen to the insights from some of the leaders in the industry, including Elaine Canick and co, to our own session, which, we showcased the best food convenience store operators in the world. We had the pleasure of showcasing some amazing sites from Europe, from South America, and from North America, which really brought home, I think, to the audience how big food service has become and how intertwined with the business of convenience retailing and fuel. So we're kind of in this total convenience space where our customers can get everything in one of our locations, which has me super excited, of course, Carolyn. But, going on from there, we had a terrific panel, and I'm always delighted when I can meet passionate food operators. And we met two, Jason Lord from All Town Fresh, which is a Boston-based chain that I've admired for quite a while, that have terrific new concept with food at the forefront. And then one of my favorites, Chris Hartman from the Hartman family of Rudders, who I've watched develop over the last 20 years from a dairy-run business into a convenience retailer, into a food convenience retailer of significant note.
That was really cool. And you really got them talking about everything from just the menu development to spacing and the way they lay out the restaurants. And each of them are very unique. I know Rudders was at the time just coming out with a brand new format. So that was really cool to hear about that too.
Yeah, we got some breaking news. I mean, they just opened a sports bar in their latest one in Pennsylvania, which I was blown away. And, the evolution of their business from, 5,000 square feet to 10,000 to 12 and a half. I mean, these stores are getting bigger. There's more reasons for customers to come visit. And, one of the things that did strike me, that technology is right in the middle of it all, between the touchscreen ordering in the kiosks, but also all of the touch points in terms of how they interact with customer, loyalty, everything. So the business has come a long way, but at its core, it's giving customers what they want. So those multiple day occasions, those opportunities to kind of go to one location to get your food, your convenience retail, your fuel, and then, meet some of your friendly staff, because one thing that I've noticed is that convenience stores, they've got a friendly service nearly in every store.
Yeah, that's for sure. And so next time you're here in town, we'll have to take a ride out there somehow and go see it.
Yeah, I really love that one in Shippensburg, and I think their new one is not too far from that, so we'll go visit soon.
Sounds like a plan. And so, Alan, you were the event moderator / MC, whatever your official title was. What were some of your favorite takeaways from that event?
I think, as we look at where our retail partners are in their customer journey, there's a huge technological transformation that's going on in the industry right now, where we're really helping partners on their journey as they break down these monolithic systems of the past into a composable architecture. So that takes place within the food convenience space as they look at how order aggregators like Uber Eats and DoorDash are, getting food from convenience retail, where the customer doesn't realize they're buying food from a gas station. But we're helping them enable that transformation of their business again, to serve those multi-day parts. But also, serve convenience, what we call convenience outside the store. And really, that was one of our main themes of the event this year is, it's not just about that great customer experience that you have when you step foot in the store. It's, how do we get that customer into the store and how do we serve that customer when they're not even, on site? There's a handful of ways that happens.
Alan, what I really liked about your kind of technology stack is you built it for the future, and with that ability to scale and the ability to, again, add things that you wouldn't ordinarily be able to do. I think that's been a very deliberate kind of path for you guys. And, I'm super impressed with some of the pay at the pump and order at the pump technology I saw. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's absolutely a partnership ecosystem. So, order at the pump, great extension of what, pay at the pump from a fuel retail standpoint. It's been around in North America for well over 20 years at this point. That's something that Gilbarco Veeder-Root, our sister business, pioneered at that point. And as we brought Invenco by GVR along in this journey, along with, kind of connected kitchen management systems, point of sale, the possibilities to do order at the pump. So you're sitting there pumping fuel and you're saying, oh, I was going to go inside and order a sandwich for my lunch. You can put that order in right there where you're standing at the pump. That's an ecosystem of players. That's not just Invenco by GVR and Gilbarco Veeder-Root transacting that business. We're working with Expedient, who's doing the kitchen management side of things. We've got other partners in Vroom Delivery who are helping aggregate orders that are coming in from multi players in the industry. Again, as I mentioned, the DoorDash and the Uber Eats earlier, it's all part of that piece. Bringing those orders in, aggregating it, providing the most value for the retailer. But it's really helping them build that ecosystem of partners so that they're not out there having to vet every partner themselves. They can rely on the network that we're helping put together for them.
And I think that's what struck me the most, Alan, that, we've always known, Gilbarco Veeder-Root as amazing, tanks gauging folks, amazing pump folks, but you've taken the technology shift right into the customer, which I find terrific from a retail perspective, because it's always bugged me that you had to have multiple systems. Now you seem to have brought them all together in an ecosystem that makes it easy, not just for the customer, but actually for the retailer. And I think that's a fundamental step change for your business. And I really want to give you great credit for that as a company to make that investment and take that step and, allow your customers to do their job well.
Thanks, Frank. I mean, I think it's meeting the customer where they are. We know we've got some incredible pockets of technology within our business. You mentioned the Veeder-Root tank gauge. Our DOMS business and forecourt control across Europe is second to none out there in the world. And so how do we take that technology and kind of democratize it to different operators that may need to deploy in different scales? That's something that you look across the ecosystem of food convenience. There's, these small operators who, may have a very small kitchen, one or two employees running it, and they need to be able to scale their business. And then you have the folks like Alltown Fresh and Rudders, as you mentioned, who, they have corporate chefs, they have, planned menus. That's, a different scale of operation. And we want to be able to meet all of our retail partners, where they are on that continuum in terms of their size and their growth, but also where they are in their technology journey.
So as you mentioned, Alan, as the growth of not only the technology but the food service itself, some of these guys, some of these companies have such a complicated, in a good way, food service offering. I can imagine that's an interesting challenge to go from, did you want a hot dog and a soda with this, as you're going inside, to what are all these toppings? What do you do with that? So I'm sure that just keeps you on your toes as they invent even bigger and more exciting menus for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And that's not, something that we can be experts in. That's why we partner. That's why we partner with the folks at Expedient who help with the menu development and the kitchen management side of things. We know they're experts in their field and we work with them within that. And one of the things that I think was really enlightening to us and for anybody who's ever been to the NAC show, and I'm sure most of your listeners have been to the NAC show at least some point in their careers, everybody knows Crispy Crunchy Chicken, and we were very privileged to have Stacy Fields from Crispy Crunchy Chicken on stage with us at RTC in Chicago this year. And I mentioned earlier the mobile ordering or the order aggregation through these third parties, and I never really thought about that from the standpoint of an operator like Crispy Crunchy Chicken and their business model, because someone's going on to Uber Eats and they're saying, I want fried chicken for dinner. And they're scrolling through and they're like, oh, crispy, crunchy chicken sounds good. They don't know who it is. They don't know where it's made. They don't know anything about it. They know it's not KFC. So they think they're buying something that's more local of a brand. And they order it on the app and they don't know that it's coming from a retail convenience store. I think that's a great example of how brands in our industry are able to extend their value, extend their day parts, and really provide additional sources of revenue for our retailers.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think, that's the biggest information I got out of SOI at NAX, Alan, was the growth and food service with all the top tier players, and even the mid tier. The more they get into it, the more opportunities present itself. And, with the enablement of technology, I think
Uh-huh.
is a great thing, and then the ability to be able to get in small and build is very important. And, certainly my message to all of the retailers out there would start small and build, and then use your partners to help you along the journey, whether it's a branded partner like Crispy Crunchy Chicken, which I think is awesome, always the biggest line in X, or,
Absolutely.
Invenco by GVR, who essentially have the tech to help you do the job efficiently and, bring things together, or give you the integration that you couldn't ordinarily buy yourself.
Mm. I think that's where we come into play is, a lot of the large providers out there, they may have their technology partners already. They've been, they pioneered this, 15, 20 years ago. But the smaller operators who are, typically on our Passport point of sale system, they really are craving a solution that's going to help extend their business and their operations. And that's where we can kind of stitch this ecosystem together, utilizing the technology that they may already have. Whether that's converting an existing Passport point of sale terminal into a food ordering kiosk in store, into a self checkout unit. All these things are possible because it's the same hardware. It's just running different software on it, and we can help them on that journey as they're getting there. We can help extend, their outdoor payment terminals as being one of those order points within their ecosystem without any additional investment that they would have in the hardware itself.
So, Alan, I really enjoyed a lot of the panels. You had some really awesome speakers, both from within the city of Chicago. You had that one gentleman who was involved in the city planning side. That was a really cool speaker. A lot of retailers talking everything, retail media networks, food service, you name it. Tons of really cool takeaways. Now, you're having another event, or well, you have a lot of events throughout the year, but you're having another one coming up in Europe. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So this is our second year doing an RTC event in Europe. So we're headed to London this fall. It'll actually be just prior to the NACS show. And really our focus of that event is really going to be around payment. We know there's an evolving payment ecosystem within the European marketplace. Pay at pump is not as common in a lot of the European markets. So we're really talking to the retail network there about, what the possibilities are, not just from a pay at pump perspective, but again, extending that. How do you extend your food service operations with your pay at pump technology? How do you increase your customer loyalty, drive those media experiences, and really bring all that together to drive your customer base?
I think my comment there, Carolyn, would be I think London's a great location for a couple of reasons. One is it's really accessible for everybody in Europe. So I think you'll get a great attendance, Alan. And, I had the pleasure of being at one in Madrid. The second one is actually, I think Europe's behind in certain parts of technologies. Like you said, pay at the pump. We don't see it everywhere. We definitely don't see ordering. And, there's a step change that's going to come. So I would encourage all of the European or international retailers in that area to go attend London, not only just see what your technology solutions are, but they'll be able to see some really good retail. London's vibrant with food service. There's lots of pockets of innovation, and there's some really good kind of convenience fuel retailing going on, albeit I think they're a little bit behind on the tech, which you guys are going to bring that solution.
Absolutely. I think the choice of London for us, again, it's a very central location, very key business environment for a lot of our customers. But we also look at this as is broader than just the European marketplace. So we see our RTC attendees really following the technology of the dispenser platforms in a lot of ways. So a lot of the suction pump based customers, whether that's coming out of Africa or that's coming out of South America or Australia, may choose to come to our London event over our North America event, which is more geared around pressure markets with pumping and dispensing fuel. So we see attendees from all over the globe. Last year we had attendees as far as Brazil and Argentina coming to our Madrid event. We're looking for the same this year. We expect to see some attendees coming in from Australia, New Zealand, LATAM.
I think that's a great point. I mean, we all are truly global retailers, and whatever's coming innovation wise, it just hasn't come to your market yet. Or if it's in your market, you can replicate or learn from it. So I think, yeah, good message, Alan, in terms of pretty much anyone from anywhere can come to one of these events. It's the quality of the attendees, the networking that we get, and then the learning we have from each other that really helps everybody, I think.
Absolutely. And I mean, there's some fantastic food convenience concepts in the European marketplace. I think the whole world has a lot to learn, and we see that from the submissions that we've had into the contest. There's some great examples of really pushing the boundaries of what that menu offering looks like, how they run their business. And as we kind of bring that piece together with the technology, that's really what's going to propel our retailers into the next generation of ownership, into the next generation of leadership within their space.
Yeah, I think some of them are behind in terms of their participation. The best of the best in the US are 50% of their in-store sales food service. We're not seeing that level of penetration in most markets in Europe outside of Ireland, where it's probably at that level based on some of the competition that's there.
Well, we Americans do love to eat. There is that part.
I think we all like to eat. We just need to figure out it's on convenience or fuel locations is where they should go. Just want to get your thoughts. I mean, obviously, there's a significant play on EV or electrification in the European market, particularly led by the Norwegian charge of high penetration, high support. What are we going to see from you guys in terms of EV solutions in the next couple of years? What have you got out of the box for the marketplace right now?
Absolutely. I mean, EV and food convenience go hand in hand. There is a significant dwell time when you're driving an EV or charging an EV. I'm an EV driver. Been there. I've definitely purchased a little bit more convenience retail foods, if you will, while I'm charging than I would have, when I was driving a petrol vehicle. So we see that across the board, and we see that growing in most of our markets. So from an EV side, we've launched our Connect business, which is really about a turnkey offering where we can help site operators really establish their own charging infrastructure. So they're no longer leasing space to the Teslas and others, but they're really controlling their own destiny and bringing that into their own loyalty programs. We've seen that in North America with Quick Trip up in Wisconsin, a huge operator who has really, embraced EV within their space and really treating it the same that they would treat a fuel pump. So the same loyalty programs, the same payment platforms, the same customer experience, regardless of whether you're refilling with petrol or you're refilling with electrons. That's really where we see the future of charging for convenience retail.
So Alan, I completely agree with your point that, EV drivers have more dwell time, and I'm going to be honest, they're really high value customers. So if, our industry isn't going to provide that service, they're going to go somewhere else, obviously. So I think anyone who's in the space needs to think about how are they going to service the customers that are going to become EV users, and then how do they get them to spend more time in the store, buy more food, because that's where the profit will lie, I think, in the future.
Absolutely. And, I'll use even my own example on a recent road trip with my family. We were stopping to charge, and we knew it was going to be a long charge. We were trying to make a 7-hour drive with only one stop in the middle. And, the most convenient place to charge was actually a charge point operator that was in a shopping mall. And the first response that I got from my family was, we have to walk all the way across the parking lot to get into the mall to find the food court to find food. Where if you're able to charge in convenience retail, you're maybe 50 yards from the store at any given time. You've got great access to food, clean facilities, to beverages, right there in a captive space versus navigating your way through a crowded shopping mall on a Saturday night. It's a busy time. It's not what, you want to have for a family experience.
Nice segue for you, Carolyn, into obviously we've just come off the best EV hub and now we're heading into the best food convenience for next year. This is really what the market needs, isn't it? Access to best practice.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And seating, lots of seating just for Alan and his family, not more than just two little spots. We need to fit a whole family in there too. But, strong food service offering with multiple options. And I think that's something that people are hopefully coming to expect. I mean, each region's different. Here in the US, I can speak to, where you go to one kind of region, you might find a lot of places up in Pennsylvania, for instance, you'll find a lot of food offerings. You go to somewhere else and you're not as it's not as broad. So I think that that's a challenge to retailers here in the US to really continue to step up the game, because you've got Alan's family coming and you never know when they're going to show up. All however many of you guys there are looking for a place to sit and a lot of options to eat, that's for sure. So, Alan, as I close us out here, I just wanted to talk a little bit about RTC. Where can people find more about the upcoming event?
So absolutely. Retailers can find out information about the RTC event by going to rtc.invenco.com. We've got all the information up there about our event coming up in London this fall. But we also look forward to you talking with your Gabarka Vitaroot or Invenco by GVR sales representative. They can get you information about the event, can get you special access in the event and kind of anything that you need to know in advance prior to booking your travel.
Well, fantastic. I appreciate you sharing that with us. I appreciate you having us both there in Chicago. And I look forward to hearing a lot about this London event as it comes closer. So thank you so much for joining us, Alan. Frank, as always, being with me. And listeners, if you haven't already, take a moment, hit that subscribe button right there in your podcast player so you get the latest and greatest episodes as they come out. Guys, thanks again. Have a great rest of your day. And thank you for listening to The Future of Convenience. You've been listening to the Future of Convenience podcast, produced by Dan Munford, Nick Scherzer, Jenna Ferguson, and Lorraine Evans. It is produced, edited, and mixed by Carolyn Schnare, and music is provided by Jukebox Music. Learn more at globalconveniencestorefocus.co.uk.